episode of What Is, and today we're going to be talking about the common cold. So this is part of our Understanding the True Cause of Illness series. And we were actually just talking that we could spend a really long time talking about all of this. So I'm excited to get into it. Today we're going to talk about the common cold. Everybody gets it. Everybody has it. But if we're thinking that, illnesses are suppressed emotions, then how does the common cold fit into that? Like, I don't think we can actually tell you exactly what you're suppressing, but we can kind of give you maybe hints into areas to kind of look into, maybe. All right. So Grace, I think we're starting with you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your understanding of this?
I mean, the biggest clues for me is kind of like, where does your head go when you catch a cold? Like, so for me, it's like, oh God, I don't have time for this. Um, I can't not afford to work. Um, what else comes to mind? And then on the flip side of that, it gives me an excuse to just lay around and not do things that maybe I'm too tired to do on a regular basis. But now I have a cold, so it gives me an excuse to not do the things that, maybe I don't have the energy or the desire or whatever to do. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of a very, very sort of intro sort of thought. But I think that the key for each person is going to be like, what feelings come up when you get sick. So imagine you catch a cold. What are the thoughts that come to your head around that? And
Right,
then that's a clue for you. Like, what's the emotion suppressed?
right. That's a wonderful place to start.
Hmm.
Um, and I know when I get sick, it's like, oh no. And I, used to get sick a lot. So I'd be like, oh no, not again. Right. Oh,
Mm.
I was just sick, a year ago or 6 months ago. Well, not again. Right. So yeah, that's a fantastic place to start. Yeah, thank you. Virginia.
Hmm. I definitely feel that it's has to do with us emotionally, and where we are at the time, because you can have several people in a room with someone that got a cold, and not everyone caught that cold. So why is some people getting it and others are not getting it? And so to me, that's the clue of, you can say, oh, I just have a really strong immune system. I, not get those things. But I agree with Grace with looking into definitely how you feel. I know for myself, it's anger and frustration comes up right away. Oh, like I gonna have to cancel things. I'm not gonna be able to make it to this and that, or it disrupts, because you don't want to be around other people when you're sick, because you know that there are some that are very susceptible to getting every cold that when they're around, and that's definitely the clue, to be able to care for myself, and have that love for myself during that time and for others, and not, wanting to share it, but also caring for me and to take the time to feel about, what is coming up for me in this. 'Cause sometimes it's all about, I find, the busyness.
Mhm.
Um, I get so into that I have to be busy to show that I'm being productive and I'm a contributor in the world. And this is like, oh, now I'm gonna have to cancel things and I'm just gonna have to sit around and, I don't feel so good when I'm doing that. So it definitely makes me look at that part of myself and why I do what I do.
Right.
Why do I want to be busy?
And that's a wonderful point. You know, and I know like when I get sick, it's like, oh, I downplay it. It's like, oh, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. And I still try to get my stuff done. Like I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then I'll relax. And I just end up making myself worse because I'm denying what I'm actually really, really feeling. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. Uh Darm.
Yeah, I was feeling the message I got was that we're not allowed to have time for ourselves because we have to meet demands. And so as I'm listening to Grace and Virginia, it's like that's exactly what's coming out, what's being said. That for some reason, having time for ourselves must be a biological necessity. It must be how we're designed. And yet we've been trained out of it. And so now we believe the normal is that we're supposed to be meeting demands all the time that we put on ourselves, which were originally put on by other people.
Right.
And so, you know, we feel like our body, well, I don't feel like we're making excuses necessarily. I feel like your body, from meeting all the demands, have broken down and it needs to recover. It's desperate to recover and repair and restore the energy. And then hopefully we can feel about it, like Virginia and Grace say, then you will not jump back into those frenzy of demands again, so that you won't wear yourself out that much quicker. So the argument could be said that we have a soul-based necessity to have time for ourselves. It's supposed to be something we're supposed to be doing. And then when we don't, we're breaking some kind of law and it catches up on us. And the sickness is how broken down we are and we need to repair.
Right.
But then all kind of feelings starts to get triggered if we're not meeting those demands. I'm not productive. I'm not doing enough. How am I going to survive? Like if you can go into those feelings, it'll take you to fears, some fears that you can start to process. And then be brave enough and say, I'm not going to meet those demands. I'm not going to put those pressures. Those are not my pressure. Those was environmental and family. What are my responsibility or desire I want to put on myself as my choice? Those things makes a big difference biologically. Those emotions create the hormonal cascades coming out of it. So I do want to suggest people who get the common cold, you're not making an excuse, you're not looking for a cop out. Your body has crashed and it's desperately trying to repair itself. Please help it. Let it.
Right. Absolutely. And I remember somebody saying to me, it's like it's a forced rest. And it's like
it's not even a rest, it's a repair. It's crashed.
Yeah.
I wish it was rest. So
Yeah.
over time, as you will learn, you'll start to learn that maybe if I rest before I'm made to, I'll actually enjoy it and not be miserably sick. And like it's not actually rest to me. There's a lot going on in the body to restore the energy that got spent meeting emotional addictions. Instead of engaging your own desire, which generate energy.
Right.
And you need something to make you even stop and go, I thought I was doing what I want. Is it not? What's wrong with this picture? Right. So now you're asking the questions.
Yeah. And that's the important part, is asking those questions, like, why is this happening? Right. As we were talking about in our introduction series. So yeah, absolutely. That why is this happening is really important. And a very good point on that. It's not just a forced rest. It's a repair. It's like you need the time to take, and like Virginia said and Grace said, like you need the time for self-love. Like this is it's like the big warning that it's like, no, this is all systems down. We're going down. We need to restore what's been literally drained from us.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking it's like, oh, it's just a cold, it's, it's nothing. It's really something actually much bigger than that. It's
And yet it's a gentle enough condition
right.
to repair. But I do things that I note in my patient is if you're not bouncing back completely, like a lot of people have colds and it lingers on, those are not good. Biologically, that's kind of like precipitate ongoing other conditions, other illnesses. So I always make sure that patient fully recover. It's very important to have it be completely done. And then people who will then get one cold after another, after another, after another, lots of lights are blinking there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet it still is a superficial layer, top layer of warning system that you can still get on.
Right.
And
Right.
act. Yeah.
Well, I do, from my own personal experience, I do know that since starting this journey of feeling my emotions and everything, I have gotten sick so much less. And when I do get sick, I take the time. I I I rest, I restore. I do everything that I need to do. I cancel everything and take the time, and it's like, no, I am repairing, and something is wrong here, and then I can go into asking those questions, that why, what's going on here.
I
So
also want to point out what just happened is one person in this group here. That's a childhood cold came back, and that was a healing crisis. That some old emotions that were ready to be let go was coming to the surface, and it came to the surface along with the illness. So sometimes you can get a cold, not because you weren't taking care of yourself enough, but because it's an opportunity for something old to come back out.
yes,
So
right.
again, we have this attitude towards colds or towards all illness, that the judgment of oh, I'm denying something. Well, of course you're denying something. You're denying thousands of things. It's okay, but there's an interesting reaction we have towards ourselves when an illness come up that help us see how much we're actually attacking ourselves, even in that moment.
Right, right. Grace, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of want to sort of echo something that you said, Jill, and also Dharam, just the whole idea of like for many, many years before I started doing this emotional processing, it was almost guaranteed that I would get sick every time I took a vacation. Every single time. It was like, okay, yeah,
Yep.
first few days or whatever, just write them off because I'm going to be sick.
Yep.
Because the rest of the time I was pushing to work to get whatever I needed to get done. And then as soon as my body realized there was time to rest, it was done. It showed it showed its true colors. I was over. But now, as I'm doing more of this emotional work, same as you, Jill, like I'm getting sick way less.
Yeah.
I don't get sick on vacation anymore, usually.
Mhm.
But what I wanted to say about that was, I lost my train of thought. But oh, well, it's because like I know I take time for myself now, and the second I get a hint of something, a headache or sore throat or whatever, I will cancel my day. I will cancel maybe like another day after. I will take the time that I need to rest, to repair, to figure out what the emotions are coming up. I will do that. And initially, when I first started doing that, there was an immense amount of guilt and like, oh my God, I'm a bag of shit. I'm not producing in society. I'm and the fears, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, whatever the fears were coming up. But the more and more I did it, I realized my sicknesses were getting shorter and shorter, and they were happening less and less. And so it's really about, like not judging what's coming up, like, oh, I'm sick again, like, oh, what did I miss this time? It's not about that. It's just like Virginia said earlier, they're messages. Your body's sending you a message in the most loving way that it can think of to do at the time. And so it's really, we owe it to ourselves to be kind and to take the time that we need to just sit down and be like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? What is this message about? Let's work through it to its completion, like you said, Dharm, so that, hopefully it doesn't come back. But if it does, it.
And so you brought up some really, really good points as far as just, even if you do get sick, that it's not a punishment. It's not like, oh no, what am I missing? Oh no, where, here we go again. Oh no. It's not that dread. It's an opportunity to say, oh, hey, there's that something isn't flowing right. Something isn't, that energy and motion isn't flowing right. So it's an opportunity.
Or the next denied issue is coming to the surface.
Or the next denied issue. Yes, absolutely. Because, like you said, Dharm, we've got thousands, and that's, and that is okay. It's not that we have to solve everything right this second, which is, my impatience addiction pops up. It's like, no, I need to solve this now. So yeah, absolutely. We need to just do it one at a time, and sometimes. So that's a really good reminder. So thank you. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Lovely to chat with you, and hopefully we all stay well.